On this Wednesday, the Clinton Board of Education approved more upgrades for its athletic facilities. That story comes up in news to lead us off here on this Wednesday morning. It follows up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. After seeing a troubling spike in fatal accidents in recent weeks, Piatt County Sheriff Mark Vogelzang is calling for greater caution among drivers. That story comes up this morning in news. There's a new nonprofit in DeWitt County aimed at giving a hand up to folks when they need it. We hear from Clay Held from Baga's house, on the morning show today. And we wrap things up this morning with highlighting U of I Extension's 4-H Day of Service this weekend. Those stories and much more come your way next on the morning show. But first, we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. State-of-the-art scoreboards will be installed at the sports facilities at Clinton High School at the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. Clinton School's athletic director, Matt Keppel, told the board 2 companies bid on the scoreboards, and they both have great features.
We have 2 bids. We had 3 bids, but one was so much higher than these 2 that we kind of nixed that one. Watchfire was incredibly higher, so we kind of nixed that one from even consideration. The one that has the one that was on top has the bigger picture of the school. That is OES. OES is staged out of Chicago. Jerry and I drove up there. We took a look at some of their products. We got to see how it operated. The usability of it really stuck out to both of our minds. The usability was very, it seemed very easy. If you ran a scoreboard, you could still control it and maintain it. It wasn't this big. We thought going in, when you start looking at, for lack of a better term, jumbotrons or video boards, I really didn't know what to expect when they talked about operating, what's going to happen. Now, the big operational side of it that will be a learning curve will be getting the digital board side of it, running our ads, doing commercials, things like that. That's something that's programmed on a computer that's separate. So the ironic thing is about that, if you look at the bottom of it, it has a scoreboard. Each one will have a scoreboard at the bottom, and that's run from a traditional scoreboard console. So if you just want to have a game, anybody that's run your clocks before can run that because it's a traditional scoreboard console. All the fun stuff and the perks and the really cool adaptations will happen on the computer that's over here. And that will usually happen leading up to the event. And then you just kind of hit play and it kind of rolls through the things. And then you just click buttons if you want a different ad or something to come up at a certain time.
According to Keppel, the boards would have both a video board and a scoreboard.
Pretty much you're looking at apples to apples. I really wanted them to be on a fair level playing field, let both companies know what we were looking for. We gave them the rough dimensions. Each one is, I'm going to say, roughly 15 or 16 feet by 30 feet video board with a scoreboard underneath it. They both come with play clocks, which we have to have, and the play clocks also have the time on that, which would be an added difference than what we have now. You have to have play clocks in football. I guess you don't have to, but almost everybody has them now. So yes, so technically you kind of have to have them. The OES one, which really kind of stands out, is the one. It's an 8mm. What that means is, as long as you're within further away than 800 feet, you will not see any pixelization. The other one is that the Nevco one is only a 10mm. So the OES one is a quote unquote better brand, better version of a TV screen. We can literally, anything that hooks up to an HDMI cord, you can play through that screen. And so if you want to have movie night on the turf, if you want to have any other kind of things going on out there, all you got to do is plug in an HDMI cord. Our gaming group could play video games on that if they wanted to in the evenings. You can watch movies. We can do live track time where the track timing comes up as they cross the finish line.
The sound systems will be a little different. Keppel explains one sound system would be a part of the scoreboard, but the other would have a separate sound system, and he says there are pros and cons to both proposals.
Nevco one is the sound is incorporated in the scoreboard. It's actually located at the top in the archway. There's like 2 or 3 speakers up there with the subwoofers, and I believe on the diagram you have it says Clinton across it. That's where your speakers are located. The difference with OES, that company is the correct digital boards. They are a sound company as well, and they recommended to us doing it separate. So if you look through that packet, they show a diagram of they will have their sound on the press box like a traditional football or track facility. because the sound will travel where we want it to travel to. So the Nevco one where the sound is in the board, which is nice and beneficial, the sound only shoots straight down the football field. So where the board's at, it goes straight down, so it'll run. The board will be on the north end of the field, and it'll run straight south. So if you happen to be standing slightly behind it, you may not catch what you were trying to hear if you're walking behind it or at the concession or something, if you're off that angle. Where the OES sound system is on the press box and they'll angle. You can see it's actually, there's a color diagram to show you where the sound will project by color coded. It's very loud on the bleachers, and then as you further get away, it'll show you how the decibels, but it shows you the angles that will be shot. So if we're hosting a big track meet, the kids, if you're doing pole vault all the way to the south end, you'll hear it just as clear as if you're out by the shot put area. So it gives us a little more range with the sound.
Superintendent Drew Goebel reminds, for those who may be critical of more projects for athletic facilities, the district has invested a great deal at the schools in recent years.
I do want to, well, you can stand up there. So both scoreboards are expensive, just elephant in the room. But I mean, I've talked to Jerry and I've talked to Matt about this. So in the last probably 4 or 5 years, this is going to come out of operations and maintenance fund. Everything from getting our air conditioning and heating fixed at the high school, getting the mason work at the junior high, flooring at the junior high, greenhouse, asphalt, sidewalks. Front doors at the high school, the handicap accessible doors on the west side of the high school. In the last several years, the district has been able to do a lot of repairs and a lot of upgrades and get things fixed. So now, because of that, or even like facilities wise, before the ATG came in, the batting cages, not the batting cages, but the backstops. So we've been able to stay within budget, but fix so much stuff in the last couple years.
According to Goebel, as EAVs in the district continue to go up, the amount of revenue they bring in goes right into their operations and maintenance budgets. Plus, the opportunity to generate revenue from the boards will eventually become revenue generators.
Yeah, so we'll be able to pay. We'll be able to pay for it because we're not, the budgets that they had here are going to decrease, and we're going to be able to cover that, and we'll pay it off in 1 year with no problem, and then it will take a while, but the revenue that we'll get from the ads over time will pay for the board. So eventually it will be a revenue source. It's going to take a little bit, but we'll have no problem covering this in 1 year's budget.
The Board of Education approved the bid for OES at roughly $339,000. Piatt County has seen a troubling spike in fatal road accidents in recent weeks, prompting Sheriff Mark Vogelzang to call for greater caution among drivers. On the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday, the sheriff told regional radio there have been 3 fatalities on county roads over the past several weeks, attributing the crashes to factors like distracted driving and impaired driving.
Yeah, I think it's multiple issues going on, but thankfully we have the help of the Illinois State Police. So when we have these, obviously there's a lot of investigative work that goes into them. So they've been very, very helpful to us. They've got a crew that comes out and investigates these fatal accidents. They use their drone, their accident reconstructionists. So it's helpful. We're waiting for some of these results to come back in, but I think it's a combination of speed, distracted driving, some impairment issues that are going on by the driver of these vehicles. Yeah, it leads to catastrophic results for a lot of people, just not the fatalities in there, but their friends and family are all affected by these accidents. Yes. Yep. And like I said, some of it is distracted driving or impairment, but we had a motorcycle rear-end another motorcycle. We had out in the middle of the country where 2 vehicles just happened to meet at the intersection at the right or wrong time, causing one to T-bone another and roll over, and that resulted in a fatality as well. So pretty serious accidents. Farmers are out right now planting, in another 4 to 8 weeks, you got the corn crops that'll start to grow, and and decrease visibility as well in these rural areas. Slowing down and really having, doing that extra caution at these intersections may save a life.
Sheriff Vogelzang implores drivers to slow down and be careful.
Slowing your speed and really paying attention as you're driving. It may be one of those that you have the right of way at some of these intersections, especially in the rural areas. Maybe you don't have that yield sign or that stop sign, but I would strongly suggest slowing down and really giving an extra look both directions to make sure that the oncoming traffic or the traffic coming from the sides of you are going to slow down and stop and allow you to proceed through.
Impaired driving continues to be an issue law enforcement encounters. Sheriff Vogelzang says despite many years of safety campaigns and messaging around impaired driving, it continues to be an issue.
For years now, we've been trying to drive that point home, but people still do it. And unfortunately, it's led to some fatal accidents and affected a lot of people. Obviously it affects people differently, but how long does it stay in your system and how long is that impairment going to last for you before you start driving? So better safe than sorry. Make sure you find a person to drive you. Obviously, Monticello, we don't really have the option for Uber. If you live in Champaign or some of the bigger cities, there's those options out there, but reach out to friends and family to get that ride if you don't feel safe and you do need to get somewhere.
Distracted driving, particularly from cell phone use, is another growing concern. With new campaigns promoting device-free driving, Sheriff Vogelzang stresses even a momentary glance at a phone can lead to tragedy.
A lot of times it's hard to disregard that phone call coming in or that text message, even reaching down to turn your radio station, things like that. All it takes is a split second when you're driving through town and the car in front of you hits their brakes because a dog runs out or a person walks out in front of them. Within a matter of a split second, now you have that accident, hopefully at lower speeds, but an accident nonetheless.
The rural planting season is adding further risk as slow-moving farm implements like tractors and planters crowd rural roads.
Absolutely, they're putting on a lot of different chemicals. So you've got semis that are stopped on the side of the road trying to offload their product. Some of these tractors are not moving very fast, but they have a very limited amount of distance they can get over into the ditch before they have an accident themselves. So those bigger implements need a little extra room, give them some extra space on the road, allow some extra time when you're traveling. They just are very limited in their options as well as they're moving their machinery from field to field.
Farm implements may lack proper lighting, reflective tape, or slow-moving vehicle emblems, especially older models, and dust or mud on equipment can also obscure reflectors, reducing visibility at dawn, dusk, or in poor weather. Rural roads, often narrow and lacking shoulders, amplify risk. In fact, in 2022, 62% of fatal crashes involving farm equipment occurred on two-lane rural roads. News time is 22 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. Still to come in sports this morning, just on the other side of 7:30. Clinton got a nice win on the road at Hardham, 9-3 in non-conference softball on Tuesday. Clinton baseball lost at the hands of Rantoul on the road on Tuesday as well. Maroa Forsyth beat Williamsville in Sangamo Conference baseball action. Hayworth doubled up Mount Pulaski on the baseball diamond yesterday, and Lincoln throttled Springfield Lanphier yesterday in high school baseball. Those stories still to come this morning in sports, again on the other side of 7:30. There's a new nonprofit in DeWitt County aimed at giving people a hand up when they need it. On the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday, founder of Baga's House, Clay Held, told Regional Radio he started the organization named after his grandmother, who was always there when he needed her, and he wants to build a welcoming community.
Baga was my grandmother. That's what we called her. Her real name was Claudia, but little kids, you get the names kind of go through and they come out different. She was just a dynamite lady. She had a house where you showed up, she would help you out no matter what. And our nonprofit is based around the really simple idea of what if folks had a place where they could go to reset, to, get feel the ground under their feet again.
Mhm.
And whether that means help with getting a job or having, maybe it could be something as simple as they're needing a fresh, clean shirt for a job interview. Taking the spirit of a grandmother's house and turning it into a service organization to help a community. The background on that is I've lived in Clinton for 19 years. I went out and I got a job in tech, but I just never felt like it was really connecting with who I was and what I could be doing and the work that could really matter and make an impact. And now that we have a daughter, I look at her and I think, I want to make sure that I'm putting my time into building the world that she will need to succeed and thrive, and that she can then go on to do that for her kids and her kids and her kids.
Baga's house started at Home for Held. What started as a conversation with his wife grew into a deep leap of faith to create opportunities and support for those who need it.
At our kitchen counter, when you go through a big life change, you talk, with people around you, people you love and you care about, and you say, hey, I think I got an idea. It's going to take a leap of faith, but I think this could really turn into something meaningful. And it went from a conversation with my wife to a conversation with close friends. And then it started to build.
Mm-hmm.
It started to go from a personal project to a community project.
Mm-hmm.
And folks around the community started finding me and saying, hey, I hear you're wanting to help, but what do you want to do? And I would say, I just want to help, but I don't know what to do. Well, what can we do? Tell me how to help. And it was really when I sat down with Edith Lunny from Right Stuff for Kids. She talked to me about wanting to create a vocational pathway for those kids once they graduate, from the program and go out into adulthood, having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that really connected with me because when I was 18, when I finished school, I didn't have a plan.
Held has goals for the nonprofit, such as bringing a community center to Clinton and providing job and education resources to those who need them. He says Baga's house focuses on giving support and promoting dignity.
What I've always thought would be fun would be to bring a community center to town and to be able to offer, first of all, one of the things I always did at Baga's was I drew, or I sculpted, or I built stuff. And I've always thought, what if we could, bring that into the picture as well? And what I would like to do is we've had a lot of real positive response from the community, but turning just this idea into a community center where not only can you come in and find programs to education or access to resources or just finding out what's around town that is available, but also just a place that can be fun, and a place where, it doesn't cost a ton to go in, but a third place or, library, museum that just kind of sprouted from what the town has, but is just kind of not connected at any one spot. I envision a place where you walk in the front door and you feel like you've gone home again. A place where there is support and dignity and structure, and a place where when you walk in, you leave with a plan.
Baga's house is located at 116 Warner Court in Clinton, but is not operational all the time. Learn more about the new organization by visiting bagashouse.org or find them on Facebook. News time, 27 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. We'll wrap things up coming up on the morning show.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to Fiber Fast Internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
Spring is in the air, so it's time to choose your new Silverado. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverados with springtime savings and special finance rates. Choose from regular cabs, double cabs, or crew cabs in gas or diesel. We're also allowing extra money for your trade on all new Silverados this month. Silverado. Together, let's drive. See all our inventory at bombchevybuick.com right from the start.
News time is 28 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Again, streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 86-year-old Abner J. Griffin of Clinton passed away April 22nd. Services for 86-year-old Abner J. Griffin will be at 4 p.m. Saturday at Kenny Christian Church in Kenny, with Ernie Harvey Jr. officiating. The visitation will be from 3 to 4 p.m. Saturday at the church. Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton is in charge of arrangements. Memorials can be directed to Kenny Christian Church. 82-year-old Linda Lee Wakefield Thomas of Clinton passed away April 20th at Haven of Farmer City. Services for 82-year-old Linda Lee Wakefield Thomas will be Saturday, April 26th at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton at noon, with Scott Marsh officiating. Burial will follow at Hayworth Cemetery at a later date. The visitation is from 10 to noon at the funeral home. News brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Connexus Fiber Internet. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. A look at local sports comes up next.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Biden immigration policy didn't only import dangerous criminals from Central and South America. There's word today of the arrest in the U.S. of one of India's most wanted fugitives, an alleged terrorist kingpin. Elon Musk figures it's time to start taking care of business. He's scaling back his work with Doge in favor of putting more time into Tesla. The company saw its profits plunge in the first quarter. President Trump is striking a more conciliatory tone toward Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. The president says he will not try to fire Powell, although he does wish the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates. 3 days of public mourning now underway for the late Pope. His body lies in state in St. Peter's Basilica ahead of Saturday's funeral and burial. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 690 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 524. More details at srnnews.com.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. Annalise Thompson fired 6 shutout innings, and Riley Fentress drove in 5 runs, leading Clinton over Hardham 9-3 in non-conference high school softball action Tuesday in Hartsburg. Fentress had 2 doubles and a run scored, while Thompson struck out 6 and walked 2 while allowing just 2 hits. Fentress's double to left scored Clara Dempsey and Thompson, extending Clinton's lead 5-0. Olivia Webb closed out the game in the 7th, allowing a hit and 1 earned run while striking out 1 and walking 3. Clinton improves to 4-9 overall and hosts Shelbyville on Friday. Holden Cargo struck out 8 in 4 innings of 1-run ball, limiting Clinton in an 8-2 win for Rantoul Tuesday in Rantoul. Cargo's only run allowed was unearned and permitted 3 hits. Colton Walker was 2 for 3 with a walk and a run scored. Cole Fentress and Mitchell Cornwell had hits for the Maroons, who did not have an RBI on the afternoon. Clinton is 7-8 overall. They will travel to Shelbyville on Thursday before hosting the Rams on Friday. Mitch Williams pitched into the 7th and helped Maroa Forsyth beat Williamsville 5-0 in Sangamo Conference High School baseball action from Forsyth on Tuesday. Williams pitched 6 1/3 innings of shutout ball with 4 strikeouts and 3 walks. The senior permitted 4 hits. Ace Giles struck out 2 of the last 3 batters he faced, also issuing a walk. The Trojans' offense came alive in the 2nd and 3rd innings, scoring 4 of their 5 runs. In the bottom of the 3rd, a wild pitch allowed Grady Rose to score, followed by an RBI single from Camden Trendler that brought in Tate Brendenberg. A fielder's choice later in the inning resulted in Williams scoring, pushing the Trojans' lead to 4-0. Maroa Forsyth bounced back from a 12-3 loss to Monticello on Monday. The Trojans are 9-4 overall and 3-0 in the Sangamo. They will host Leroy this afternoon. Hayworth used a 3-run fifth inning to double up Mount Pulaski 4-2 in non-conference high school baseball action on Tuesday from Hayworth. Boston Cats single brought in 2 runners in the decisive fifth for the Hornets. Luke Martin had a double among his 2 hits and an RBI for the Hilltoppers, who were limited offensively. Carter Brooks fired 4 1/3 innings of 2-run ball. 1 was earned for Hayworth. The junior struck out 7, walked 2, and allowed 4 hits. Braden Lesh went 2 2/3 scoreless innings of relief with 4 strikeouts for Hayworth. Eric Cooper permitted 4 runs over 4 1/3 innings for Mount Pulaski. Just 1 run was earned. He struck out 2, walked 2, and allowed 5 hits. The Hilltoppers dropped to 11-3 overall. They host Illini Bluffs in Tomahawk Conference action on Thursday. Hayworth improves to 10-8. Ashton Corley homered among 11 hits for Lincoln as they rolled Springfield Lanphier 15-0 in a run rule Central State 8 conference win on senior day at Lincoln High School. Corley added a triple while driving in 2. Kyle Keeler, Jaden Gully, and Brady Miller had doubles for the Rail Splitters. Parker Grau fired 4 innings of no-hit ball, while with 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Lincoln improves to 6-11 overall. They host Normal U-High today. Elisa Armstrong fired a complete game shutout, leading Argenta Oriena over Champaign St. Thomas More 10-0 in non-conference high school softball action from Champaign. In her 5 innings, Armstrong allowed just 2 hits and issued a walk. She struck out 7. Grace Manning and Piper Jones each contributed 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Angelina Madrigal chipped in with 2 runs and a hit. Argenta Oriena goes to 8-9 overall. They will host Toledo Cumberland in Lincoln Prairie Conference action on Thursday. Williamsville took down Maroa Forsyth 8-1 in Sangamo Conference high school softball action Tuesday in Williamsville. The Lady Trojans managed just 5 hits on the afternoon. Maggie Ravenscraft recorded a double, while Adeline Simmons, Taylor Crouch, and Danny Hovey had hits for Maroa Forsyth. The Lady Trojans dropped to 9-5 overall and 3-2 in the Sangamo. They host Argenta Oriena on Friday. In action heard here on WHOW on Tuesday, Bailey Ober worked 6 strong innings in his 2nd straight start. Trevor Larnick hit a 2-run homer, and Byron Buxton made a diving catch to end the game, sealing the Twins' 4-2 win over the White Sox on Tuesday.
Unlucky number 13 for the White Sox in Minnesota. A horrendously bad call by the umps cost the Southsiders a run early. Despite the fact that a valiant comeback effort was in progress, it was thwarted by the Gold Glove of Byron Buxton in center field.
A swing and a drive, well hit, deep right center. Buxton makes a catch, a diving catch on the warning track. A literal game-saving, game-ending catch.
Benintendi's out had an expected batting average of .580. I'm Jeff Meller, and I'll have your pregame coverage for game number 2 of 3, Wednesday, starting at 6 p.m. on ESPN 1000, Hard Rock Casino, White Sox Network.
And the Sox return to the WHOW airwaves on tonight. Illinois exploded for 20 hits at the plate in a 19-8 run rule win in 7 innings over Indiana State in Terre Haute on Tuesday. Drake Westcott had a monster performance at the dish with 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and scored 3 runs. Westcott, in his 4-for-4 effort, recorded his 40th home run of his career at Illinois, which matches Sean Mulligan from 1989 through 1991 for the 2nd most all-time in program history. Jack Zebig was 3 for 4. Colin Jennings 3 for 5. And Cameron Chi-Aloy went 3 for 6, while six batters posted multi-hit games. Evan Clark got the victory in a bullpen day for Illinois. Mitch Dye turned in a scoreless outing of relief with an inning and 2/3, allowing just a hit and struck out 3. Reed Gannon tossed 1 2/3 shutout frames to finish the ball game, yielding just 1 hit and punching out 1. The Sycamores went up 3-0 for the first time and kept Illinois off the board through 3 innings. But Illinois broke it open in the 4th with 7 runs. Zebig started the scoring with an RBI double. Kyle Shutman followed with an RBI single. And Westcott cleared the bases with his towering 3-run shot, the 39th of his Illini career. And Jennings capped the frame with a 2-run double. Indiana State got 2 more in the bottom of the 4th to cut it to 7-5. But again, Illinois responded with an 8-run spot in the 5th to take a commanding 15-5 lead. Colton Quagliano had an RBI when he was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. Will Johannes and Nick Groves kept the line moving with RBI singles. Chi-Aloy and Vitance Valensuis drew walks with the bases loaded, and Shutman tallied 2 RBIs with a base hit. Westcott picked up RBIs 4 and 5 with a single to extend Illinois' second straight big inning. The Sycamores got 3 more in the home half of the 5th, but again, Illinois got those back when Jennings drove in a run with a ground out, and Illinois added 3 more in the 7th with a 2-run shot from Westcott, and a Quagliano scoring on a wild pitch made the score 19-8. Illinois returns to Illinois Field for Big Ten play on Friday when they host Purdue for a 3-game set. The Friday opener is at 6 o'clock. Nolan Gorman hit a tie-breaking 3-run double in the 8th inning, and the St. Louis Cardinals snapped a 5-game losing streak with a 10-4 win over the Braves Tuesday night. Lars Nootbaar was 2 for 5 with a home run, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored for the Cardinals, who improved to 2-10 on the road this season. Atlanta native Victor Scott II was 3 for 4 with 3 runs scored. Steven Matz picked up the win with 2 2/3 innings of scoreless relief. The Cardinals scored 3 runs in the 8th and tacked on 3 more in the 9th to put it out of reach. Sean Murphy and Matt Olson hit homers for the Braves, who had won 4 straight. Enyel De Los Santos gave up 3 runs on 2 hits and 2 walks in the 8th to take the loss. The Braves were forced to go to a bullpen game when Spencer Strider went on the 15-day injured list after he injured his hamstring playing catch before Monday's game. Opener Scott Blewett gave up 2 runs in 3 innings. With light rain falling, Cardinals first baseman Wilson Contreras drew a 9-pitch 2-out walk off De Los Santos prior to Gorman's 3-run double in the 8th, tossing his bat in the air after ball 4 in celebration. Blewett had already pitched for 3 teams this season, making 2 appearances with the Twins and 2 with the Orioles. This was the first start of his big league career. Braves right-hander Bryce Elder will wrap up the 3-game set against Miles Michaelis today. Ian Happ hit a game-ending RBI single in the 10th as the Cubs outlasted the Dodgers for a wild 11-10 victory Tuesday night. The Cubs were down to their last out in the 9th when Miguel Amaya hit a solo homer off Tanner Scott that landed in the basket in center field, sending a charge through the crowd of over 36,000 at Wrigley Field. After Porter Hodge escaped a jam in the top of the 10th, Ian Happ grounded the first pitch from Noah Davis to right field. Vidal Brujan scored easily from second as the Cubs poured out of the dugout to celebrate. Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong homered as Chicago improved to 3-1 on an 8-game homestand. Happ had 4 RBIs and scored twice, or had 4 hits rather, and scored twice. Tommy Edman, Andy Pajes, and Will Smith went deep for Los Angeles, which had won 5 of 6, and Edman finished with 4 RBIs. The Dodgers scored 5 times in the 7th to take a 10-7 lead. Freddie Freeman had the big blow, a double to left that drove in Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts. Chicago got 2 back when Tucker homered against Alex Vesey in the 8th. Then Amaya had the tying shot in the 9th The Cubs go to 3-3 against the Dodgers this season, and the two teams close out their season series tonight. Crow Armstrong's 2-run shot off Dustin Mace made it 7-4 in the fifth. He is hitting .367 in his last 12 games. Pages threw out Ian Happ when he tried to score on Michael Bush's fly ball to a left in the sixth. Happ was originally ruled safe, but the call was overturned after the Dodgers challenged the play. Matt Boyce starts for the Cubs tonight. The Dodgers will have a bullpen game. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Sunshine mix